Hello guys and welcome back. So in this video we are going to be using the prefab that we created in the previous lesson. Okay, so we're going to be creating or instantiating that prefab via a C# script, and then we're going to be positioning that object, that is the prefab, which is the bullet object, at a certain location in our level. Okay, this is to help us determine where the bullet would be and like where it's going to be starting out from. Okay, so let's jump on to Unity. So in the previous video we have worked with creating the prefab. Okay, so we have created a prefab folder, we have created a prefab bullet. Okay, we can easily drag this one over here, but that's not kind of the goal. Okay, the goal is to spawn these bullets whenever we press the spacebar, so they can appear on the level. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of these because obviously we don't want them to be like that. Okay, so it's going to be done using a script. So I'm going to click on the scripts folder and create a new script. So this is going to be our second script. Quite exciting. So we're going to right click here. Okay, so first we've clicked on the scripts folder, then right click here, then create and select the C# script option. Now I'm going to name this one fire. Okay, you can call it attack or something else. It's up to you. Essentially this script would be spawning on the bullet prefabs on the level. I'm going to press enter and then double click on the script for it to load into Visual Studio. Okay, now hopefully as this is our second script, you guys would be a bit more comfortable writing C# script code. Okay, so the whole purpose of this script would be to spawn the item. Okay, spawn the prefab object. I haven't really mentioned this in the earlier videos. There are like whenever you create a script, you would get this structure. Okay, you'd have public, class. Okay, everything we do, you have a script is a class, and then the name of the script. Okay, and this is like inheriting something called mono behavior. We don't need to worry about it, just as long as you understand the structure. Okay, and then the class would have this opening curly bracket and the closing curly bracket, and in the middle or in between the brackets we would have all of our scripts, like all of our codes. In the movement code we used update method, start method, fixed update. For this one we don't need the start method. Okay, we don't really need the start method. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of the start method altogether. Okay, and also the green line, the green text which followed by the which follows the two slashes. Okay, they are called comments. They are something that they help you make sense of your code. Okay, so I've gotten rid of that. Also, I don't need this one. All I need to do for this function, for this script rather, is to have a reference. Okay, have a reference to this prefab object, this bullet object, and then inside the script we can create that or instantiate that object. So I'm going to use the double slash to comment so it makes a bit more sense. So we need a reference. Okay, we need a reference to the bullet, and then we're going to create that object. Okay, now needing a reference, if you guys remember from the movement, we do that by creating a variable. Okay, and we need to have access to that variable from the Unity engine, so we need to make it public. Okay, there are other ways to do it, actually using serializable field, but this is the easiest way for you guys to do. So I'm going to go public. Okay, game object. It's not going to be a transform, not going to be something else. It's going to be it's not a rigid body. So okay, just a game object. Okay, so public game object space. I'm going to call this one bullet semicolon. Okay. Now, if you save your work, okay, keep an eye out on the star. Okay, so if you save, Control S or Command S, the star should go away. Okay, and if you go back into Unity, let the script reload. Okay, and then you want to click on your player. Okay, because the fire script, I want that to be on the player. Okay, so I'm going to go back inside my scripts. Okay, and drag in the fire script and place it on the add component button, and that would attach the fire script. Now you can see, as we made the bullet variable a public field, we can have access to that. At the moment it says none, okay, but we need to drag the bullet game object in here, okay. So we're gonna click on the prefab folder and then left click and drag the bullet prefab and place it on the empty slot here, okay. Now would that do anything? Well, kind of, it does technically in the background, but not in the background, in the back end, but we won't see anything, okay, because we just have assigned the reference to this bullet, okay. Now what we need to do is create a bullet inside the update method, okay, inside the update method. Now when do we want to create or spawn the bullet? Well, we want to spawn when a key is pressed, okay. So we do that by using something called input, okay, the input field, but we are input class. We're not going to be doing it directly because we need something called a conditional, okay, an if conditional block. We would want to check if a key has been pressed or not, okay, and this is how you do it. You go if, okay, followed by round brackets, okay, and inside the round brackets you want to type up input dot get key down, okay. So we have get key down, and get key up. Get key, you'll be using this whenever you want to, you know, keep holding on to a key, okay, for example movement, although we have implemented the movement in a different way. Get key down and get key up, they are like they would just register one click, okay, one sort of tap on your keys, okay. I'm going to do get key down followed by round brackets. Now inside the round brackets you can see how Unity Visual Studio is suggesting me to use key code, key code, okay. So we're going to use key code dot, I'm going to use space, so just type up space, okay. So if followed by round brackets, and inside the round bracket we have input.get key down, key code space. I'm going to go down to the next line and have curly braces just like the update method does, okay. So we can have an opening, and the moment you do the opening curly bracket, the closing curly brace is created for you. All you need to do, okay, is just press enter when your mouse is between the curly braces, and it would go down the next line. We're going to create another one, so another enter. Now you have a nice little block. So whenever key is pressed, what we want to do is spawn the bullet prefab, okay, and then set position, okay, set the position to player's position. So we don't want the prefab to be randomly spawning anywhere, we want it to be spawning at the player, okay. So to spawn we have to use instantiate, okay, and that's actually a code. So we're going to go instantiate round brackets, and we're going to pass in the value of this bullet, okay. So we're just going to type a bullet semicolon. Now it instantiates the bullet, but it doesn't really set the position. You can put in parameters to set the position, but I want to break it down further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable, okay, a game object variable, game object, I'll just call it temp, as in temporary, okay, equals. So what's going on here is you instantiate or create a bullet, and then you store it in the temp variable. Why am I doing it? Well, it's because of this. So after this positions n, press enter, and then let's use this temp, which contains the newly created prefab. Okay, so we're gonna go temp dot transform, okay, because remember from previous video, if you remember, every game object would have the transform. Even if you create a new bullet, it would have a transform, okay. So we're going to do temp.transform.position, okay, that is this value right here, transform.position. We're going to set it to the player's position, okay, so equals to the player's position. Now how do we get access to the player? Well, if I go back to my player, you can see how the fire script is on the player, okay, is on the player. So if I do just player's transform, if I just do transform the position, we are essentially getting the player's position. So we're going to go transform, okay, dot position, and that would create, so line 17 for me would spawn the bullet, and line 19 rather, would set the position to the player's position. If I save my work and go back inside Unity, make sure you let the scripts reload, okay? Then once it is reloaded, when you press launch and space bubble, depending on which key you've gone with, okay, you can see the item spawns right at the center. Okay, so you can create items, and you can see how this on the left under the hierarchy, you can see how new bullets are appearing. It's as if you are literally dragging items. Okay, so that's what we are doing here. Okay, we're just dragging items but using scripts. Okay, so we have the items spawning, but there are a couple of issues. Okay, we don't have, not issues really, we don't have the movement, so we're gonna have to work on the movement. And also you can see how many objects we are creating. We need to make sure that we can recycle them. Okay, so just before we wrap up, I want to do a couple more things, and that relates to the next video, which is going to be covering the movement for the bullet. Okay, so we're going to click on the bullet prefab. So click on the prefab folder, then bullet. Okay, so double click. Make sure you double click on the bullet prefab, because that allows you to edit the prefab. Now, I want to set up the scripts for the next video. Okay, sorry, not scripts, I just want to set up the plier, the bullet plier. So in the next video we are going to be working the movement, but to work on the movement we want the rigid body. Okay, so we have the transform on the prefab, we have the sprite renderer, which is all great. We want to add a component, rigid body. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do rigid body 2D. Okay, so just repeating, just press add component, rigid body 2D. Okay, and I want to again make the gravity scale 0. Okay, so there's no gravity scale. To test it out, you can actually launch that if the gravity scale is 0 or not. You can launch and see if the items stay, like the weapons stay still. They should, okay? Because if you don't have the gravity, they should just stay still. So in the next video, we're going to be working on how we can make the bullets move.